What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another stream for you guys. We will be previewing the game at Craven Cottage tomorrow night, Fulham against Tottenham. But we do have some sort of breaking news to talk about today regarding Antonio Conte and his future and his contract at Tottenham Hotspur. Damasio broke this morning, or some quotes came from Damasio saying that, you know, the guy is done at Spurs pretty much, is what he was saying, but he has clarified these comments. There has been comments from various other sources as well, which we'll get into. But let's start off with the ones from Damasio clearing up what he was saying. So what's been actually said?
Yeah, so there was some, basically he was on a Italian TV station this morning, basically giving his opinion about the whole Antonio Conte situation and where he believes the future lies for Antonio Conte, and the quotes have been a bit misconstrued. He said basically that he thinks that at the end of the season Conte will be parting ways with Spurs. He thinks that he said let me get his quotes up, but he said some interesting things, albeit even though they were misconstrued, that he did say some interesting things. Let me just try and get them up here. One second. In fact, the tweet's been deleted by the aggregators who say that who said what he said. Basically, the aggregators were claiming that he said I have it for certain that Conte is leaving in the summer, and that he feels like he can't be competitive with this Tottenham team. He said the aggregators claim that he said he hasn't been offered a contract. Spurs don't want to offer him a contract, and that the club don't like the frequent jibes by Conte. Conte wants players to win, while the club prefers just to trade. The feeling with the club has not clicked. His family, among other things, remain in Italy. He has since written an article, though, just clarifying his situation, stating that he never said he felt it was certain that Conte would leave, just what he thought. And he said Spurs have offered him a contract, but his future is on standby as per Conte's request, as he wants to focus on Tottenham right now. And he doesn't want, and Matt Law has followed on that, saying Conte has not made a decision as of yet, and more likely will come near the end or at the end of the season, as per usual with Conte. So the uncertainty rumbles on. But obviously Spurs, the Spurs fan base were lit ablaze with those quotes, and everyone was pretty much ready to accept that Conte is pretty much leaving at the end of the season. Some people saying that this Damasio clarification is just him maybe softening his stance after maybe some words behind closed doors from Conte saying, you know, maybe you shouldn't have told everyone what I told you. But that is the state of play at the moment. I think the fact that Damasio, he still clarifies in his article at the end, saying, we hold the position still that it's very likely that Conte will look for a new adventure in the summer and join his family in Italy. Look, we know Damasio and Conte are quite close, with the journalists in Italy. So if he says something with authority, you know it's pretty likely, especially coming from Italy. So it doesn't look good, I have to say. Even though there is this clarification, it still doesn't look great. And I think Spurs fans are probably rightly concerned about whether this is very likely to happen or not at this stage.
At the end of the day, yeah, look, it's concerning news, but to tell you the truth, like, does this news change anything in your mind whatsoever? Because it doesn't for me. I always thought Conte was going to be well, I've thought this for a long time, that Conte is going to be out the door in the summer. It's no surprise to me, to be honest. And the way this club is going and the way they're assisting Conte, it's literally no surprise whatsoever. And this club is in such a hard place right now in terms of what signings do we bring in the summer? Is Conte going to be staying? Is he not? I mean, everything is just completely up in the air to do with the future of this football club, who we can bring in this January, who we're going to bring in the summer, who's going to be our manager. If Conte is going to leave, he may as well just leave now. I'm just sick and tired of hearing this whole conversation creeping up ever since he's joined, to be honest. And as much as I want Conte to stay, and as much as I think he can be a really key part to this future, if he's not going to commit his future to Spurs, then he may as well just leave at the end of the day. And the guy can't be settled either way. And like, even if Spurs were going to give him the backing, I'm still thinking that he might not stay with the whole situation regarding where he's at in his life at the moment. 3 people have passed away that has been very close to him, which obviously don't know where his head's at with that situation. His family are all in Italy. He's living in a hotel. All of these things together don't tell me that he's looking to stay at Spurs for the future. And that's even if Levy was to back him, and you've got that whole thing on top of it with him not getting the what he needs to stay in this job. So I think regardless of what Di Marzio is saying right now, all roads lead to Conte leaving in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, I can't really see a situation right now where he stays unless he gets some serious convincing. But even, yeah, the problem right now is he's having a very hard time personally, and he might think he needs his family around him, even if the situation from a transfer level or from a board level was to change in terms of how they're approaching things. You know, even if they were to give him some new defenders and all these kind of things, and follow his instructions as to where he needs improvement, there is a decent chance at this point they still might land on finding something new, maybe back in Italy in the summer. And that's an issue. That's a big issue if he's not gonna. If Spurs have offered him a contract and he's still and he's deliberating, and then because it's causing hesitancy in boardroom. Do they back him with money in January because they don't know if he's going to be in the summer? They don't want a set of players who are not going to be of interest to a potential new manager, and also, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If he doesn't get the backing because of the uncertainty, then it makes him more likely he's going to leave because he won't feel like the squad is capable of competing at the top end, which would lower his ambition and his motivation to really fight for everything, for every point when they're not challenging for a title. That's where he lives and breathes, Antonio Conte. So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. I think the logical thing at this point would probably be, if he's not staying here, to just find a new manager right now and not waste any more time, because we've wasted 3 years going nowhere pretty much, with some fleeting success early on, maybe during Mourinho's first few months of the second season we were good, and then obviously the last 6 months of Conte's first season we were good. Apart from those couple of runs, we've just been going nowhere, heading no direction, and we've seen the value of having a direction to go, and even if there are bumps in the road, you know where the end goal is. And right now it's like Tottenham don't know, we don't know where we're headed. We don't know what direction we're going in. There's too much uncertainty right now, and if we go ahead another 6 months, that's just another 6 months we're going to be falling behind our rivals, and that's going to be even more catching up to do. Yeah. So we need some action very, very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, at the end of the day, if he's not going to commit his future, as much as it's going to pain us to see him leave, he may as well just walk out the door, to be honest. And the whole situation with his family being in Italy, he's already said that, you know, his kids are in school in Italy, doesn't want to pull them out of school. He's travelling back to Italy every 2 weeks or wherever it is to go see his family. It's just not a settled life. It's just not a settled life. And even if he does stay and stay for next season, those thoughts are always going to creep in your mind, saying, oh, I want to be closer to my family. He's got kids. He's got a wife, obviously, who he's very close to. And even if he does get backed, these questions are going to keep propping up, and it's unsettling, and it's always going to be unsettling. I'm sure he wants to be very close to his family, and I'm sure that even if he does get backed in this summer, in this January, those thoughts are always going to be in the back of his mind. And him living in a hotel, him obviously with the deaths close to him in the last year, it's just very, very unsettling. And like, regardless of the money that comes in or how much he gets backed, he's still going to be extremely unsettled, in my opinion. So I think we should just cut our losses, to be honest, and look for a new manager, bring in a new manager, because I just don't see how this works. I just don't.
I think if we do make some signings, let's just say this January, and we maybe scrape top 4, and he decides that he really wants to stay, No, I would take him at his word. I don't think he would stay under the pretense of being unsettled. If he was unsettled, he would leave. Like, I think if he was to sign a contract and stay, and he commits, and I would be happy with that. I wouldn't continue to question it. But right now, there's too much uncertainty. He's putting talks off. Spurs aren't sure what to do in January because he's put the talks off until the summer. I remember when he was at Inter Milan, it happened in both his seasons at Inter Milan. There was constant questions about his future, and they lasted a long time. I remember in his first season, even leading up to Europa League final, that Inter Milan had. They finished second, I think, in that season, but they got Europa League final, and there were just constant questions throughout the whole season. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? They were questioning him, and he was having back and forth with the board. And literally, it was after they lost the Europa League final, and then it was announced. For all the world, it looked like he was leaving, to be honest. That's what everyone thought. Everyone thought it was going to be announced that he was going. All the rumours were he was off, and then he announced at the end of the season that he's staying for another season. And then they went on to win the league the next season. There was also constant questions about his future again for the last 6 months. They won the league, and then he decided, I'm going to leave at the end of the season once Lukaku and Hakimi got sold. So it's not as simple as him being unsettled and then always deciding to leave, because it's not always as simple as that. But it's not. But the problem is right now, it's not helping the fan base, the uncertainty. It's not helping the players. I think it's starting to affect the players, and then it's also not helping the decisions that the board are making, whether to make the signings or not. And I think at this point, if the board sack Conte, they're going to get criticism, but rightly so. In my opinion, because they haven't they appointed him and haven't made it work. But then if they keep him and the season continues as it is going, then it's also going to be a big problem. They're also going to get criticism.
So what are they going to do? They're going to wait until the summer to see if Conte wants to stay or not, and then inevitably he'll say, no, I want to go, and he wants to go back to Italy and go back to his family. Because the board won't give him enough, and regardless, he wants to go back to his family anyway. And then what? We're stuck with another 70-day manager search, or do we just bring Poch in? I mean, what do we do? What's the plan from the summer?
There is no plan. That's the problem.
Like, this club is an absolute joke. Like, right now we've got a world-class manager here. All he needs is a bit of backing in the defence, wing backs, and attacking player. And then this club is all suddenly looking like it's in a good place again. But again, lack of planning, lack of incomings, lack of signings for the manager, and we're in a terrible spot at the moment. We're close to really going down the spaces in the league if this form carries on. If Fulham beat us, they leapfrog us in the league tomorrow. And it's such an easy fix. Just get a competent defence in, get wing backs in, and get an attacking player in. It's not like it's not rocket science. Like, this club is like the team that we've got now is like, we've got some really good players in. It just needs to be supplemented by a good defence, and I think we'll be all right. And they make it so hard for themselves with this penny pinching, with this, what the Brighton. What the Trossard agent said about the Spurs bid. And it's just like, Spurs came in 2 weeks ago, and it's like, wait this, wait that, wait this, wait that. And Arsenal come in, and within 24 hours, the deal's done. And it's like, how many players are we going to lose like that just because of this stupid penny pinching and this stupid wanting to win the negotiations because of Daniel Levy? It's absolutely ridiculous. And on top of that, now we've got the Paratici thing hovering over our heads. Who knows what's going to happen with that? He's banned in Italy for the next 2.5 years. We don't know if that's going to affect his role at Tottenham Hotspur or not. But just everything at this club is up in the air. From the ownership, we don't know if we're going to get the players in that we want. Our director of football, we don't know if he's going to be here in for the foreseeable future. And Antonio Conte as well. We don't know if he's going to be here. Not only that, but Harry Kane and Heung-min Son and the top players at this football club. So every single facet of this club is up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, there's nothing really. I think it was perfectly summed up by there was a tweet I saw from by Nathan Clark, which really summed up. Let me try and find it. Why can't I find it? One sec. He really summed up for me where we're at this club. Oh, I can't find it. I'll try and find it one sec. But basically saying, yeah, I've got it. One sec. Basically saying our talisman and best player is open to leaving. Our coach is just seeing out his contract until the summer. Our director of football is a criminal who may or may not be banned from doing his job. And our chairman is still way too involved in things he has little skill for. Yeah. And that's basically the situation at Tottenham.
Absolutely spot on.
And I think I couldn't have summed up better myself. Literally every facet, player, manager, boardroom, sporting director, every facet of this club is in a mess right now. And I'm not really sure how we change things at the moment unless we implement a strategy moving forward and just stick to it. But I just don't know if this board have it in them to do a strategy. They don't know how to. They just don't know the landscape of football. It's changing too quickly for them. They don't know how to operate in it. They're getting outdone by clubs above them. They must wonder, how can all these clubs get the deals done so quickly? It must be really perplexing to them how teams above us can make big moves and move very quickly for players, and every transfer for us takes weeks and weeks and weeks to iron out every little detail, and we're getting moved past. It's simple as that. We're getting moved past as long as this uncertainty rumbles on. And we don't know where we're headed. We're getting moved past by teams who are very well situated at the moment, are willing to invest major money, have a manager at the helm who is committed to the long-term future for the time being anyway, and they've got fans right now who are looking at what's going on and are happy with and are on the same level as the manager. They can see where the club's headed, and right now we just don't know where we're there. Even like clubs like Chelsea, we're not going anywhere at the moment because they're 10th, but they're throwing money at the situation. They're sticking by Graham Potter, and they'll get it right eventually. Things will start to turn for them. But at the moment with Tottenham, you can't, we're in bad form, and you can't have that confidence that it's going to turn around right now, because I just think the uncertainty with the players right now must be getting to them. And then Harry Kane, how long can he? We know when Harry Kane isn't motivated and he doesn't have that core motivation underpinning his performances, they start to suffer. We saw that under Nuno, and as much as he's been performing brilliantly this season, can we rely on that to continue while this uncertainty prevails? I don't know. That's a problem, and I don't know the solution right now.
The most worrying thing for me is that update from from Ali Gold last week, where he says some people in the boardroom at Tottenham Hotspur don't feel like they're doing anything wrong.
I mean, that's laughable. It's laughable.
How can we be in a situation that we are, falling further and further behind our rivals, and then people in the boardroom saying, "Nah, we're not doing anything wrong."
Yeah, of course not. Doing nothing wrong at all. Everything's fine.
What the hell is going on at this football club? They don't think they're doing anything wrong, so how the hell have we slipped so far behind if they're not doing anything wrong?
We were in the perfect position in the summer to really push on, and we just haven't done it. We've neglected holes in the squad, which for years have lacked major investment. And we're being punished for it now. We're being absolutely punished for it. And they think they're doing nothing wrong. I remember watching, and I hate to bring it up, all Arsenal's All or Nothing documentary. And they're in the January transfer window. And Edu's got a whiteboard in his office. And he's got each member of the team, he's got what he watches it on the whiteboard. He's got written down who's there and who he wants to bring in for those positions, and what his plan is for the whole squad. He's not just planning because of a good deal here and there. He's planning what profile he wants for each position and who's available and all these kind of things who fit that profile and who you can look for. I just get the feeling, did Tottenham do that? Did Tottenham have a plan like that?
This was supposed to be Paratici's job, though. What is he doing? It seems as though Paratici has come in, but it's still that scattergun approach that we've been adopting for many years prior. It's just he's the one that's supposed to be identifying these key targets and identifying players that are supposed to be fitting the mold of what the manager wants and needs.
Yeah, but I'm sure, and yeah, 100%. And he obviously, I think these signings that we've made under him, like, we've neglected holes, but I think the individual signings are okay. But like, how much is this court case hanging over him, affecting these kind of things? I don't know. It might not be at all, but it's got to a bit, you would think.
Apparently, he came into work the next day on yesterday, and just like nothing had happened. He just came in, sit behind his desk, no one said a word.
Of course, yeah, everyone just ignore the elephant in the room. I mean, all the situation. I'm sure. Look, I don't know if he's been at the hearings or not in Italy, or it's just whatever. He's just been charged or whatever it is, but I'm sure that has probably affected in terms of his dealings in the transfer market. Even if it's just people not wanting to deal with him because of what was done, I don't know. Or the fact that he's had to, spend a lot of time with lawyers because he needs to know what to say in the court case, and when I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I'm very ignorant when it comes to how it has affected. But it's not. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that this court case has definitely affected his dealings in the transfer window and stuff like that.
And it could easily affect him going to Italian clubs, especially Juventus, to get players that we potentially need. But look, the fact of the matter is, the story is today is that Conte has put contract talks on hold, and they won't be discussing that until much later on in the season or at the end of the season, which says to me that Conte most likely will not be staying here for the foreseeable future, or till next season at least. And I, for one, am not surprised by that whatsoever. I've been saying this for quite a while now, that I don't think Conte will be here next season. And this kind of stuff that has come out today that has riled up the Spurs fan base has not really had an effect on me, because it's something that I've always thought. Yeah.
And it looks like, but I think of what's most concerning for me, obviously, is it's obviously out of news, but it's what it represents maybe for right now in this January transfer window. With 8 days to go, we haven't made a signing. Obviously, we've heard we're in talks with this, that, and the other, but I struggle to believe any of that. If the board, if there's that much uncertainty about what Conte is doing, I struggle to believe that the board will spend any money in this window. I don't know if they will. I don't know, because for them it's just a risk, isn't it? It's a risk on investment that they'll sign them, and then the new manager's not going to want them. So I struggle to think that there's going to be any permanent deals in this window. They might get a loan or something. I don't think there's going to be any permanent deals.
They've worried about any of the signings coming in that the manager wants them anyway. Like the signings that have come in have not even been for Antonio Conte anyway, apart from Perisic. So what's the difference? Like, they're going to bring in players. They're going to bring in their own players either way. So I personally don't really think it affects too much in this January transfer window. I think they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. And the players that have been coming in under Conte anyway, it's not like Conte asked for these players. It's not like they're Conte players. They're players bought for the club. And it's going to be the same in this January. It'll be the same next summer, whoever the manager is. So that's the situation from my understanding.
I just think that we'd be more willing to make a permanent transfer if things are more settled, but I don't think we are now. I reckon we're only going to go for loans with options to buy. Basically, that's going to be the state of play, and I don't know how many players we can get to really improve the team with loans with options to buy. Maybe we'll get lucky like we did last January, but this with 8 days to go, we'll have to wait and see. It's just a very frustrating situation being a Spurs fan. So depressing, because you just don't know what to think in terms of what we need to do with the situation. They've really made a real mess of everything. This board. You can say that again.
They've made a mess. They've made a complete mess of things since basically all started going horribly wrong. I mean, I know it's been wrong before this, but when we didn't make those signings under Pochettino in that transfer window, I mean, we kind of masked over it for a little bit after that, and we were still going well because we had a really good team, really good manager. But it's all started going downhill then. That's when we needed to invest. That's when we needed to add proper quality to this team. But no, they said, no, this team's good enough. There's no one that we can sign that's better, that will get into this team. There's no one that we can sign out of that 11 that's better than them, which is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You look at every other team who's at the top, every other team who wants to get to the top, make signings. They don't just rest on their laurels and think that everything's going to be okay because we're playing good football at the moment. It's obviously going to go downhill if you.
Well, especially because we didn't even win the league.
Exactly.
So, like,
exactly.
There's always places to improve.
We couldn't improve that team, apparently.
Yeah, it was rubbish. It was absolute rubbish. But this board have continued to make these kind of decisions. But I think it's been the decisions they've made since sacking Pochettino have just been awful. It's just been terrible, every single one of them.
But even decisions during Pochettino's reign, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Constant bad calls from this board, and this is the mess that we're in right now. And if it doesn't start to change very soon, then we're going to slip even further behind. But look, that is the story on Antonio Conte today.